And welcome in to your LSU Football Fix. I'm Preston Guy, staff writer at TigerBait.com. Joined with me, as always, is Zack Nagy of Sports Illustrated's LSU Country. If you're here, you know LSU took a beatdown this weekend to the hands of Florida State, 45-24. I want to dive into a few topics that I have on that. I did some film study of the offense. We're going to want to go through that. Defense, I think we all kind of saw what happened. They just got completely manhandled, beat down. That second half was brutal, but I do think that part of the problem was the offense kept on going 3 and out, not holding on to the ball. Who else took a beating was my stomach this weekend. Last night, I couldn't do the show because I was having just a lot of, have some sort of virus stomach issue. So I appreciate y'all joining us on a Tuesday night. I understand if not everybody can make it live or you had to come rewatch. We will be back next Monday at our normal time. So y'all make sure to come pop in and join us next week. But as always, I appreciate y'all for joining us for your LSU Football Fix. I also appreciate Celebrity Theaters for making everything we do possible. I'm going to go ahead and give them their shout out before I dive into my film study because it's pretty robust. And I don't think we want to go 2 hours again, do we, Zach?
That was a great. It was good though. Van was awesome, so it was a really good. You got to do what you got to do. It was a game by game breakdown, so
yeah,
it needed
right.
it. We did the time that we needed.
I kind of just looked up and recognized that. I was like, this is just a bunch of dudes chilling around talking about football. We're going down by down.
Awesome.
And y'all had such good stuff to say. I'm like, am I really going to try cutting y'all short? This isn't radio. That's the beauty of it is if something good is going down,
just keep going with it.
Just keep on going with it. But that being said, I had, you were working some overtime there. I was working some overtime there. So let's try to speed things up tonight. We're going to thank Celebrity Theaters for being our title sponsor this year, making everything we do possible. Of course, Celebrity Theaters is, the overlay. There we go. Celebrity Theaters is the only locally owned and operated theater in Louisiana with locations in Baton Rouge, Broussard, and Ruston. For years, Celebrity Theaters has been committed to providing a total family entertainment to its patrons. Because it's locally owned and operated, you're guaranteed to see a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology every single time. The Baton Rouge location has an invigorating arcade with more than 50 games, the largest in town. It has a bar featuring wine, beer, frozen drinks. It's got oversized leather reclining seats and, of course, the Dolby Atmos 3D sound system, which just sounds incredible for your Oppenheimers or your, Top Gun movies of the world. So it's a great place. Like I always say, man, getting to watch a movie with a cold drink, an alcoholic drink, and in a reclining chair, dude, that's the future. Like straight up the future. We didn't get everything right. I'm still folding my own laundry. There's no flying cars. They got that right. Gosh, dog it. Okay, so let's dive into the question burning a hole in everybody's pocket. Jayden Daniels. Some people hated his performance. Some people loved it. And this really scratched my head. In the post-game show, as I said, he had a 400-yard game, which usually people are like, whoa, that's a game. Why are so many people still hating on him if he had a 400-yard game? And I kind of said, guys, I got the impression he had a 400-yard game, but it seemed like a very unimpressive 400-yard game. Zack, I kind of diced up. Let's not reveal the results of my film study, but I diced it up a little bit. Let me get your impression of Jayden Daniels in this game.
It's just difficult because, like you and I were talking about earlier, in kind of like the little production meeting that we had, it wasn't really. Obviously, it was a. When you look at the box score, it jumps off the page. The numbers that he had, it was impressive. And then you kind of look at the overall plays, and nothing really jumped off the page when you're watching the film. It was
right.
A lack of deep throws over 15 plus yards. What we were talking about, and just for the most part, it just was kind of an underwhelming showing in the passing game. And when you look at Jayden Daniels, he did everything right that you could have asked him for, besides push the ball downfield. And I don't want to contradict myself here because there were moments where I was sitting back and thinking to myself, okay, is it going to be like how it was last year? Not as much improvement. And then, at the same time, there were flashes where I was just extremely impressed with what he did. So I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but it was just an up and down roller coaster ride for me when I was watching Jayden Daniels because the balanced attack of passing and rushing was good. I mean, he only ran the ball 10 times, and he wasn't really running for his life too much. There weren't as many designed run plays for him, and when he threw the ball, it was short routes.
When you say ran the ball 10 times, I'm sorry, is that like scrambles?
Yeah, I think he did. It was 10 rushes for 68 yards or something like that. But you might have
16
it written
for 64.
Down. 64. So it was just like, all in all, it wasn't a horrific performance. I know a lot of people are sitting back saying Nussmeier should have been thrown in the game, get a spark going, stuff like that. But he did what he did, and ultimately it wasn't enough. But you did a little bit of a film study, so I'd like to get your perspective on it as well.
Absolutely. And you know how I know this is a touchy topic? I'm just introducing it, and we've got comments like this. Nussmeier should have taken over when LSU went down 14 in the fourth. Clearly needed a spark. Of course, you got to look at the profile picture there. Might be a little bias from Edward O, the Nuss bus driver. And I'm going to leave his comment up here. My dad's been texting me after the show. He said, son, you got to leave the commenter on the screen. They like it. They engage with your show. So I'm leaving your comment on well after I'm done reading it. Let's move on. Dane Bergeron. Preston, how much of those 400 yards were on two plays? I'm going to get to it. I promise I'm going to be fair to Jayden. That's what this show, what I've always tried to do is never push an agenda, even if it's a pro LSU agenda. I don't do that. There are shows that, they're pushing pro LSU stuff and people like that. This is a show where no matter what, I'm going to be fair with no agenda, just telling you what happened and allowing you to make your own decision off of that. And I'll present my own opinion too, but I want you to be able to make an informed, educated opinion on your own. So I charted Jayden Daniels plays and I excluded all the plays that were like, okay, someone else's fault. Like it was, a blitzer comes and sacks him up the middle within 3 seconds. He couldn't do anything good or bad. And I charted his plays: good, great, and bad. He had 22 good plays, 4 great plays, 16 bad plays. That means about roughly a third of his plays were pretty bad. Probably a little bit more, probably closer to 40% there. Depth of target, that's something we were really, really big on this offseason. He had to improve on. We needed him to take a step forward. He took a step backward. Hit 8.9 yards per depth of target last year. 8.1 is what I charted. And only 4 throws beyond 15 yards, and 3 of them were bad. The one good throw that went beyond 15 yards was the garbage time throw you were mentioning, both Dane and Edward. It was 34 yards downfield. Brian Thomas took it against some backup DBs and scuttled in and put it in. Other than that, he had a 17-yard throw, bad. A 21-yard throw, bad. And then he threw it. I'm sorry. The throw to Brian Thomas at the end, that was actually 24 yards. The 34-yard throw was also to Brian Thomas, but it was on the last play of the third quarter, which was controversial when I tweeted about it, where he threw it to Brian Thomas. Before I talk, Zach, what was your thought on? Do you know the throw I'm talking about? Third quarter, last play?
Underthrown ball where it bounced off his hands?
Yeah, it did hit Brian Thomas in the hands.
Look, you put that ball on the money, you hit him in stride, and that's a touchdown. I mean, that's pretty much bottom line there. Obviously, underthrown, still hit him in the hands, and if you're a receiver, you got to make that play regardless. But both ways, it wasn't really. It was a mishap. You put the ball on the money, it's a touchdown. Underthrown, still hits him on the hands, he drops it. So both players should have done a little bit better in that aspect.
The way I put it is 2 things can be true at once. I had people saying he should have caught it. I had people saying it was a terribly thrown ball. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have an agenda that you're trying to shove down people's throats, 2 things can be true at once. It was a terribly thrown ball. It was inside and underthrown. And if he throws it properly, it's an easy catch. Instead, he has to slide and catch it with a receiver, with a DB near his face. That being said, it also hit him right in the breadbasket once he slid.
You got to make the catch.
You play football. Yeah, right, exactly. You got to make the catch. You play tackle football for Louisiana State. You're on scholarship. Make that catch. It's inexcusable not to. But all that being said, inexcusable not to make that throw, in my opinion, especially in that situation. We talked about Jayden Daniels was already good last year. He needs to be great for LSU to accomplish its goals, and that would have been a great throw, and he completely messed it up. And on almost all my bad ones, I have notes as to why I thought it was bad. I look at the interception he thrown. Yes, that is definitely the fault of Malik Neighbors for slipping. But I looked at the throw and I was questioning, why did he throw that? The receiver is actually right on top of him and underneath. That's when you don't throw a comeback, because the receiver has to come back to it. I don't think he should have thrown that. Now, maybe coaching will have a different opinion, but there was just a lot of questionable decisions like that. So, guys, do me a favor. If y'all think that, if you're enjoying the show and think we're doing some fair and quality analysis, would you please go ahead and give the show a like? It really helps with our numbers and supports what we do. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all's support. Of course, every time y'all do something like that, it helps bring new people into what we do. So to summarize, and by the way, people mentioned drops and receiver mishaps. I counted 3 just breadbasket drops, like hit him in the hands. Kyron Lacy had a terrible game. I also counted a very sloppy route from Kyron Lacy on a play that should have been a touchdown if he runs his route just with some gusto, and of course the Malik Neighbors slip. So not a great day for the receivers. The interior offensive line got absolutely manhandled. I actually thought, rewatching the film, I thought Emory Jones and Will Campbell played better than I was giving them credit. That being said, I have multiple plays where Charles Turner got blown up.
Miles Frazier
got blown up. Dellinger got blown up. In fact, Miles Frazier on one play got, let me double check, make sure. I don't want to say it's the wrong guy for something this critical. It was Miles Frazier got blown up so bad on a 4th and 1. It was one-on-one guy lineup. It wasn't a tough block where he's having to go circle around him.
Talking about
Head-on-head block. He gets blown up so bad. All right, tell me what happens next. I bet
did
you know.
Did he spin? Did you see him? He basically did a spin. But I don't want to just talk about Miles Frazier on that one specific play though, because the entire offensive line got beat.
Yeah,
all 5 guys.
Hold up. I think we might be conflating 4th and 1s here, because there was 3 of them.
The entire offensive line got absolutely abused on one of them. But if not, carry on with what you're saying.
Check this out. This is actually a triple option short play. I'm trying to remember if it was 4th and 1, but it was 4th down. I know that, and they're about at the 20-yard line. And Mason Taylor is actually pulling out to run a route where Jayden Daniels has the option to hand it off inside or roll it out, where he can either take it for a run or dump it off to Mason Taylor. Miles Frazier got beat so bad that Mason Taylor could not run his route. He got hit and had to run around Miles Frazier. So the play got busted and Jayden Daniels got slammed. That's one of those plays that he gets a neither positive nor negative mark on, simply because there's nothing he could do. So I'm not going to say he did a good job. I'm not going to say he did a bad job. That's why a lot of the plays, he obviously had more than whatever 22 plus 4 plus 16 is. That's about 42 plays. He had more than 42 plays, but a lot of them were just everybody dropped the ball. There's nothing you can do. So on that play, offensive line got blown up. So Jayden Daniels was not the biggest problem, and I'm having trouble formulating an opinion of his performance, because he had 22 good plays, 4 great plays. Now, one of the 4 great plays was the garbage time play, right?
Yeah.
2 of the great plays were design quarterback draws, where he just showed why he is a true talent running the ball, made guys miss. He had 1 great play throwing the ball when it mattered most, and it was a 13-yard play where he got hit while throwing and throws it just on the money to Kyron Lacy. I think it was a comeback route. It was one of the deeper comeback routes they did. That being said, that's a major NFL throw he made. He made 1 major NFL throw. 8.1 yards depth to target, guys. You're going to have to get more deep. There were certain things that were just so frustrating watching film. On 4th and 4, on a drag route. He throws it to Kyron Lacey on a drag route, 2 yards. On 4th and 4, you throw it 2 yards. And that's the kind of stuff. It's crunch time. You really need a big time play, and your quarterback just dials it in for a dink and dunk 2-yard pass. And I think that that's a big reason why so many people are just so, like, at least attempt a throw that will give us a chance. 3rd and 22, you're down. I think it was you're down 14 points on the 3rd and 22. It was either 21 or 14. He throws it 4 yards to Brian Thomas. 4 yards. And it's like, and by the way, you're backed up on your own goal line. So it's not like you're setting up for 4th down. Now, if you're setting up, that was my first thought, is maybe they're giving up and going for 4th down here. Like they're just playing for it all. And they just wanted to give themselves some cushions to make a reasonable. No, they punted on 4th and 17. They punted. So why are you throwing the ball 4 yards on 3rd and 22 if you know this is your shot? So I'm going to let you go first so I can kind of form. What were your overall impressions of Jayden Daniels? Good Jayden, bad Jayden?
I'm just going to – there's pros and cons. Obviously, you can mix the good with the bad. It was just a tough night at the office for him because that Florida State defensive line – like, look, we can sit back here and talk about the miscues, what went wrong and all this and all that. But, at the same time, you're going to have to give Florida State some credit at one point because that front is absolutely phenomenal.
They were beasts.
Incredible talent. And like you said, our interior offensive line did get, for the most part, cooked. There were times where it was just impossible for Jayden to make plays. I mean, he played bad at times, but he played good at times. And there were times where I was impressed, and there were times where I'm just sitting there scratching my head. So I'd love to sit back here and, put a lot of blame on Jayden like most people are. And for some parts,
he's not your only problem.
But
he's not.
But you have to give credit to Florida State's defense. I mean, Jared Verse is an absolute menace. That's a top 10 pick. He looks just like an absolute pro. And Braden Fisk, I mean, or whatever, they're just a talented team, man.
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of the day, Jayden, it was a roller coaster ride, and 8.1 yards per throw is not going to cut it, especially come SEC play. It's just not. You have to take improvement in some areas, but overall, it was a roller coaster ride watching Jayden Daniels, and he's going to have to improve if this team doesn't want to go 9-3.
American Patriot, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for your continued support over the years. I know this is far from your first show with us. JD overthrew 3 wide open receivers. 3 seems. Hold up. I'm gonna check my notes. I know at least 3. But yeah, there was definitely some bad throws, and then there were some bad throws where he should have thrown it over the top of the DB and he threw it underneath. So it just like hits the DB, and Malik Neighbors is trying to like hug the DB for an insane catch. Just some certain throws like that were not as well executed. See, I'm thinking about my dad yelling at me because I pulled the comment down already. I guess the reason I do it is so that I can see our faces and look at the composition. But I'm gonna leave your thing up there for a second. So thank you, American Patriot. Yeah, there was quite a few throws he missed on accuracy wise. In fact, there was one where he's checking down to Josh Williams.
In the flat. And
in the flat, 4 yards
over his head. Yeah, that when you're thinking of, like, when you're dissecting these bad plays that Jayden Daniels had, that's the one. Like, that is the one that I'm looking at and I'm saying, damn. Because that is
4 yards over his head.
That's a JV throw. And
I mean, I have full confidence that I could have made that throw.
Yeah, and I hope to God you could, because that was the one where I'm just we just sat back in the press. We were just like, wow, like, did he actually just do that? I don't know what down it was on, but that was his tone setter right there. That was the worst throw of the night, in my opinion.
16 out of 42 graded plays were negative. I'm going to call that roughly 33%. I'm going to argue that 33% negative plays is not good enough. I think that the consensus is he did some good things, but he wasn't good enough in this game. Do I think that he was so bad that you just need to bench him and get rid of him and scrap him? I'm not there yet. But he has some things he needs to work on, that's for sure. Primarily, you say that throw, and I think that that's the one throw I look at where it's like, that was the worst execution of a play because that's such an easy play to make and he just missed it so badly. However, the decisions of throwing it 2 yards on 4th and 4,
Yeah.
the decision to on 3rd and 22 throw it 4 yards, those are things that irk me.
That's just the IQ play that definitely catches people's attention. Like physical, play wise, the missed throw over Josh Williams is a head scratcher. And then you look at the IQ play of only throwing it 2 yards on 4th and 4. I think we can agree that those two plays are kind of like just a tough combination.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at. Is it's not good enough for Jayden to do what you need to do as this team. By the way, to win it, to make the playoff at this point, you've lost all cushion. You have to win the SEC. Not saying you have to win out, because I do think that 11-2 SEC champ has a chance to make the playoff, but you have to win the SEC. There's no scenario where you don't win the SEC and make the playoff anymore. So to do that, Jayden Daniels got to play a hell of a lot better. I mean, a hell of a lot better. And quite frankly, I question coaching. Why are you calling a 2-yard drag route on 4th and 4? The receivers need to play a lot better. The defense, what surprised me watching some of the defensive plays, I didn't watch defense as thoroughly as I did offense, but I was watching. It's not that the coverage, like the coverage was pretty bad. A lot of the coverage was just the receiver was more physical and more faster, and your DB was too small to make the play because they had some big, talented receivers. It was that the tackling was so poor in the defensive backfield. That was what surprised me. I mean, Andre Sam missed tackles. Greg Brooks missed tackles. Major Burns missed tackles. Oh, yeah. And Deuce Chestnut got bullied at times because he's just so much smaller than those receivers. It's just not really good football being played in the defensive backfield.
That's one of the reasons why I kind of hate, like sitting here and just dragging Jayden Daniels through the mud because, sure, like I said, we both said for, the first 20 minutes is like, he struggled in several areas, but the lack of creativity in the offensive playbook, like play calling was, questionable at times. The run game was just, I almost said something I shouldn't have said, was a struggle. The offensive line was a struggle. There are several areas that you can look at here. Jayden Daniels wasn't perfect by any means, but there are several other categories here that you need to be looking at instead of dragging Jayden through the mud because it was a tough, second half. That was probably the worst LSU football I've seen in quite some time.
It was a pretty rough ball game. And I think what the biggest thing that stands out to me is rewatching the film, my notions about how good Florida State are absolutely confirmed. LSU dropped the 14. Florida is number 4 with 3 first place votes in the AP. I argue they should have gotten more, but being in the top 4, absolutely deserving. Florida State's got some studs, and they don't execute perfectly every time, but talent-wise, dog. Florida State, that defensive line, it's not just Jared Verse out there.
Fisk is scary.
Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, yeah, and he came out and said in an interview today, he's like, yeah, I knew this game was over when number 70 came to me and said, dang, you good. It's like, you don't say that mid-game. I was like, ooh. Florida State just played. They played with swagger, and LSU did not. I mean, they played like dogs. And LSU had no dogs in them that night. There were no dogs to be found. So that is probably of the things I'm concerned about is where's that dog? Your quarterback got WWE slammed and nobody tried to start a fight. I understand there's probably real football coaches laughing at me for saying that, but I swear to God, if you slam my freaking quarterback on the ground, I don't care if it's legal or not, I'm fighting you. Because I want to show that energy. I don't want you disrespecting my leader like that. Give me the 15 yards. I'm going to show you that fight. That's exactly how I feel. And that is what is the most concerning. Where is that dog in you, man?
Where's the fight? Like just in that third quarter, once you got stopped that first drive or whatever it was over. Like deflated. And you're sitting there and you're watching that sideline. It's just absolutely defeated. So even looking back at when Jayden Daniels got absolutely crushed and you need to see that fight, I completely agree with that. It's just like you're saying, that dog, like that fight, it's just I just
Yeah.
didn't see it from this team at all on Sunday night. Just at all.
I mean, and another example of that working its way into the X's and O's, because what my example I just gave didn't really work its way in the X's and O's. Why are you throwing it 4 yards on 3rd and 22? Be that dude. Push it downfield. At least try. Your guy might not be perfectly open. Take your shot. Be that dude.
That was the problem last year. It was like everybody was just talking about his lack of trust in his arm and lack of taking shots, because you sit there and you look at his box score and his season stats, and there's no interceptions for the most part. For most of the season, it was like under 5, whatever it was. Just a lack of interceptions. And on paper, that looks fantastic. But in actuality, it's a lack of trusting your arm and taking shots and pushing the ball downfield. You want to see a couple interceptions in the box score at times towards the back end of the season.
Right.
You want to see that fight. You want to see that dog. You want to see that ability to take risks. And checking down, it's not going to cut it.
The interception he threw on the bottom of the screen, Kyron Lacey had 1/2 step on his DB on a fade. You're down in the game at that point.
Take the shot.
Take the shot, and you don't throw an interception, assuming you throw it decently. He threw the interception because he took, the coward's throw. That's what it was. It was a comeback route when your DB is shaded underneath of you and he's on you like glue because he feels comfortable making that throw. If you take that shot downfield, your guy might not make a play. But if this is the kind of team you think it is, and you have the kind of athletes we think you do, at least give them a shot. There was 4 throws beyond 15 yards. And that's only 4 times you gave your guys to make a big play. One time they did, the other 3 were terrible throws. That's just an example of being that dog, but I concur with you that
I know we can sit here and
the biggest problem.
And drag him through the mud. I love Jayden.
I'm not here to drag. This is not a Jayden Daniels date show.
I love Jayden Daniels. I know you like Jayden Daniels. It's just a matter of wanting to see improvement at times, and there's just so much hype about his growth as an intermediate passer, a deep ball passer. There were so many different narratives being pushed, and you and I both just wanted to see him take that next step. And small sample size. It's 1 game. It's 1 week. I'm fairly certain that he's going to continue to grow this season, just like he did last year. He struggled in the first, 2, 3, 4 games and hit his stride late. So I firmly believe that, Jayden will hit his stride at times because he's going to get there. It's just a matter of time. This team just needs to, get some more reps under their belt, I guess, because that was just a piss poor performance on Sunday, man.
Edward O, it's bad when Preston is talking bad about JD5. He's always defending. I have because, and by the way, Jayden Daniels was a guy when he came in, I watched his film at Arizona State and I said, this guy stinks. Then I listened to people, I watched fall camp and I saw what he did last year and I was fair to him. I'm always going to try to be fair to a guy. And I feel like I'm being fair tonight. I don't feel like I'm just bashing on him. I feel like I'm being fair. The only reason we're really talking about him this in depth is because, hey, did they drill the 6 news values into you at ULL?
No.
Okay. All right. 6 news values. One of the news values is controversy. Then that makes it more newsworthy. That's why I'm talking about it tonight, because it is highly debated, not because I think he was the biggest problem. What isn't the biggest problem is our sponsors that make this show possible. That's a great issue we have going on here. So remember, Celebrity Theaters is our title sponsor. They have weekly promotions for all locations. Monday, Senior Savings Day, $5 for all patrons over the age of 55 all day long. Tuesday is Bargain Tuesday, discounted movie tickets and concessions for all. Wednesday, college night and admission for college students after 5 p.m. Baton Rouge location has half off arcades. Thursday, Baton Rouge location only is Thirsty Thursday. That is your discounted bar items. And of course, if you can look behind me, let's see if I can shrink you real quick here. Let's see how does that do it? Nope. Does that do it? Yeah, there we go. You can see tonight, our show is also brought to you by Spectre Sports Art. And if this painting behind me caught your eye, it'll be sure to catch the eyes of guests at your house. I'm sorry, I had a little message I had to read real quick. It's guaranteed to catch the eye of any Tiger fan. The details will hold your attention. Think about the puzzle piece on his sleeve for the crews, the kids with autism and disabilities that he helped fund to bring it. You may recall the infamous Smokin' Joe in 2020, which I have right here. I mean, oh man, this microphone always makes it tough. I mean, this is one of the best pieces of arts I've ever seen. You may also recall the Perfection one. By the way, shout out. I was the one who came up with the name of this one when he sent it to me. But you can see like the memories in the trophy, from Alabama's third down run to pointing to the Burrow jersey for senior night. It's that attention to detail that really catches people's eyes and keeps their eye. It's like the way just the overall art, color, and structure gets their eyes, and the details keep their eyes on it. So from the fireworks of Tiger Stadium and Alec Box to the Golden Spikes Award, Spectre's always spot on with these works. By the way, this piece behind me, Dylan Cruz's family bought the original, and it's hanging in Dylan's man cave. So I always think that's a cool touch. By the artwork, the players themselves are actually hanging in their man cave. Joe Burrow's parents have that Burrow painting hanging in their living room. So that's always cool. I'd appreciate it if y'all use the link in this sponsor. Link in the description where it takes you to the Bayou collection. It shows all the good paintings they have. He has a Tommy Tanks one he just did, Drew Brees the Saint for when he retired. All good stuff. And if you use the code TigerBait10, you not only support this show, but you get 10% off of your purchase. You will not be disappointed. All righty. Good stuff. And guys, while I'm at plugs, y'all smash that like button for me if y'all enjoyed what we're bringing to you tonight. It always helps with our algorithms and making people, come see the show, and, share the show. Share it to Twitter, Facebook, whatever you got. Share it out there if you're enjoying it. Let's see. I saw a good comment from Trey Guy. Let's see here. My cousin Trey. I'm losing him. Let's see here.
Way
How long
up there.
was that comment? What's that?
It was way up there.
Way up there. All right, let's see here. I think next time I might just make you give you the keys and let you be able to put comments up yourself. Let's see here. Here we go. What's up, cousin Trey? Hey, Preston, brother from another mother. You and Zack are killing it. What freshman do you think should get a chance to see the field? That's a good comment. Zack, lead me into this one, because with open-ended questions like that, I'm like a deer in headlights. Like,
No, I really like this question, especially when you're about to face a Grambling team this weekend, where you're going to get the chance to, let your youngsters touch the field. And in my opinion, the first guy that I am looking at to make, a big impact is going to be Caleb Jackson.
okay.
I want to see Caleb Jackson get on the field sooner rather than later, especially as Logan Diggs is kind of, getting his legs back underneath him. There was no explosiveness in the run game. There was, really nothing that jumped off the page in the run game at all. And you can look at, Florida State's impressive defensive line at times, but in my opinion, you need to switch things up a little bit. And I think Caleb Jackson needs to enter the fold sooner rather than later. He's explosive, he's twitchy, he's quick, and I think he can add a completely different element to this run game where, take a little bit of pressure off the receivers, take a little bit of pressure off of Jayden Daniels, and, get him the ball, whether it's a check down pass and make him create with his legs, or hit him on a toss and see what he can do in a little bit more of open space. So when I'm looking at somebody who can make an immediate impact, it's going to be, Caleb Jackson. I'd love to see Shelton Sampson get on the field and do something as well. But when I'm looking at one guy and I'm circling that guy and I'm pinpointing that guy, it's Caleb Jackson, because I think he can add a completely different dimension to this run game.
Good call. Very good one. I have a different one. First off, Caleb Jackson, when he was 16 years old, a junior in high school, for Liberty Football's first ever football game at the varsity level, I saw him. He had no idea who I was. I said, "Hey, TigerBait.com recruiting site, can I get a picture for you?" And he goes double guns flexing off, man. And I'm talking like shredded guns. Tell me that guy doesn't have that dog in him. First thing you see is a reporter.
Specimen. He does not look like an 18-year-old freshman. Like, he looks, he's physically impressive.
So any 16-year-old who can see a reporter and just first thing he wants to do is hit a double flex on you, and it's impressive, that guy's got that dog in him. All right. So we were talking about that earlier. All right. I'm going to go a different direction, and I'm going to go in because of the struggles LSU saw, because the running back.
Defense?
No. I'm going to go offensive line. I'm gonna
Hurd,
go.
yeah.
You know what I would like to see? Let's work in Lance Hurd at right tackle and move Emory Jones into a position in the middle of the offensive line, because the middle of your
Beautiful.
offensive line got just, I mean, manhandled
Manhandled,
against
yeah.
Florida State. So that would address at least 1/3, because I would like to say it was just one guy in the middle and you could just fix it, but it was all three of them really struggled. That would fix a tremendous problem on this team. I think a bigger problem than just um, what you do with running back. Because I mean, you had serviceable running back plays.
That
Yes,
would help
outside.
open up that would help open up the run game with whoever you
Yeah,
decide to choose. I think that'd be fantastic. Slide Emory over and then,
yeah.
pop in Hurd.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily, it's just kind of an interesting thing because it's not the position he would be coming into that's the problem. It's the how the reshuffling would really help. So very good question, cousin Trey. He's got that guy lineage going on there, that good guy intuition. We're gonna talk about Brian Kelly's presser real quick, and then we're gonna dive into some comments and questions. What time is it? I promised him we would not go over this week, so we're not going to go over this week. BK notes, I thought it was mostly just coach speak. Kind of just nothing there. He declined to say coaching needed to be more creative with play calling. He did talk about red zone struggles, but didn't go into the specifics as to what needed to be addressed. He used the vague execution. We need to have better execution. It's like, great. That tells me approximately nothing. And he denied saying beat the heck out of Florida State, but then there's an audio clip of him saying it. He should have, just said, hey, well, I was just kind of teasing around to an LSU crew. It wasn't, you'd have to be there and listen to the clip to know what I was saying. Instead, he kind of denied it. So, press conference was kind of a bit of a nothing burger. What'd you get out of it?
I wanted to hear a better answer when he talked about the lack of creativity on offense. When he was asked about some play calls on both sides of the ball, I would have liked to see him dive into that aspect a little bit more because he obviously doesn't want to rag on his coordinators and go down that path. But I would have liked to see kind of an explanation in that front because there was no creativity on either side of the ball when you're looking at Harold Perkins defensively or even just the play calls on offense. It was something that definitely caught my eye. Another piece that I kind of sat back and kind of dove into a little bit was the Aaron Anderson thing. I think it's smart in a way to continue rolling with Aaron Anderson. I know that muff punt was brutal, and that was one where every LSU fan in the world was just thinking to themselves, okay, here we go again. But I think you give him some more reps under his belt. He didn't really play last year for Bama. He's a redshirt freshman, so you continue getting more in-game reps under his belt, and I think he can hit that stride and reach that next level. But aside from those two things, it was really just the lack of creativity. Talking about Aaron Anderson, and then he kind of avoided the Harold Perkins thing. He was looking more at the bigger picture of Harold Perkins, where one, we want to develop him for the NFL and get him right.
He did say that.
Front, but at the same time, we want him to be effective in the purple and gold as well. So he's kind of just talking about how he wants to reach that happy medium. And he answered the question, kind of as nitpicky as you would anticipate without kind of going into too much detail, but I'm really intrigued to see how Harold Perkins is used versus Mississippi State in 2 weeks because, this Grambling State game is going to be – we know the result of that one, but I want to see how he's used against Mississippi State, a pass-heavy offense.
Nagy guy. Thanks. I hate it. I got the impression from BK that he was calling out quit or lack of dog with the team. Did you get that impression? Because I didn't.
I didn't quite get that. I mean, obviously the lack of fight was something that jumped off the screen when you were watching the game on Sunday, but I don't think he blatantly threw them under the bus in that regard. But it's definitely pretty understood that team lost that fight after that first drive in the third quarter.
I mean, when the quarterback is trucking your linebackers, that's when you're losing it. All right, so we're gonna close out here in a bit with comments. We're gonna get to your comments. So if you got anything, ask Preston, ask Nagy, whatever you want to do, put it in the comments. I'll leave a question for you. My question is, what's your impression of this team moving forward, win-loss? Is it that Florida State was just that good and LSU couldn't compete yet? Was it that LSU's about to have a really bad season? I want to go ahead and shoot that. We'll get to some comments. I want to thank my sponsors, and we're going to get right back to that. And of course, our show is brought to you by Celebrity Theaters, our title sponsor. All Celebrity Theaters house 8 to 10 auditoriums, whether you're interested in hosting a birthday party, private movie screening, corporate meeting, arcade party. We have the perfect facility to meet your needs. Celebrity Theaters is proud to offer birthday packages for children of all ages. Let us handle everything from movies, entertainment, setup to cleanup. For more information or to book your party online, visit www.celebritytheaters.com/events. Or to schedule your next birthday party, family gathering, holiday party, corporate event, field trip, or private theater buyout, simply contact events@celebritytheaters.com. And of course, our show is also brought to you by Alumni Hall. Hey, Tiger fans, when you want to show your LSU pride, Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike, Nike Golf, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yeti, gifts, and accessories. LSU students and military receive 10% off in-store every day. And you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Roll, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. Boy, I don't know what it is. That Alumni Hall script just is choppy to read, man. I always trip up on something. That's why I did a little bit of broadcast in school. They tried me out as an anchor. I was like, I can't do this shit. We gotta move on. PG show. How many curse words do you get for a PG rating, right? All right, Zach. I got the impression that Florida State was just a really, really good team. And I also get the impression LSU was in this game. It was tied until midway through the third quarter, right? So really, it was just the back third of this game where Florida State just you imploded as a team. I think LSU is a good football team that with time can improve, can make adjustments, and potentially could come back and beat Florida State. I think Florida State's the better football team, but I'm saying if they played each other a bunch of times, LSU could have won that game if some things went differently. And I think down the stretch, LSU should be fine. I do think Jayden needs to work on these depth of target throws, because if he doesn't do that, then teams that are worse than you will creep into the game simply because your offense was not there. I think LSU also got into a situation where it needed to get into a shootout, and it really wasn't equipped for the shootout. And that's when the offense really started to implode. When you needed them most, they weren't there. That being said, you're only going to get in a situation where you need to be in a shootout against teams that are objectively some of the best teams in the country, in my opinion. I don't think this team wins out. I think going to Tuscaloosa is going to be a tough order. That being said, I do think that they showed enough to me that there is some cracks in the foundation for this team. And another team like Ole Miss, Texas A&M, where looks like they're playing a lot better with old boy calling plays. Who's the offensive coordinator? Petrino calling plays. Right. You know, one of these teams could sneak up on you. I still think this is a 9 or 10 regular season win team, and we'll just have to see where they go from there. What's your take?
I think, my major thing that when we were talking with Van last week was kind of like I needed to see this team in a tough situation against Florida State to get my official diagnosis of where I think they ultimately end up. And, I got that and then some looking at the Florida State matchup. I mean, that secondary is going to be a work in progress. And there are some games where it's going to be a true struggle. Like I said before, I don't want to pinpoint anything on Jayden Daniels. He has to improve in that aspect. It's clear. The run game will improve. The offensive line faced a tough test in week 1. I think they shake back. I think offensively you're going to hit your stride sooner rather than later. I'm not too worried on that front at all. Defensively is where questions rise. What do you do with Perkins? Are you going to allow him to be that pass rush specialist that he shined as last year? Will you move him around? Because Kelly said you're going to have to account for him on every single play. And we just didn't see that in week 1. He was simply ineffective. He was schemed out of the game. So, where do you go from here with him? Do you move Perkins to the edge and have him rush the passer a little bit more? Do you continue to make him drop back in coverage? What do you do with him? And then you continue to look at this secondary, because you play a team like Ole Miss who can abuse you if you let them. Arkansas, The exact same thing. KJ Jefferson is that dude. He's a complete dog. And if you allow him to take over the contest, he will do just that. So, I see this team going 9-3. This game opened my eyes a little bit. I think that going to Tuscaloosa is going to be tough. You might drop one along the way. I don't know if they drop that one to Texas A&M as well, but I could see, like you said, 9-10 win team is where I'm sitting at as well. I'm looking at that Arkansas game as one that's going to be extremely tough. I think that Ole Miss game can be very tough. The secondary is just going to need to step up to the plate in a big way. That's an area of extreme concern, and that's just the casual take. The whole world saw that on full display. Obviously, Florida State has Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, 2 first-round draft picks at receiver, but you're going to be entering SEC ball, and you're going to be playing against some absolute dogs on a weekly basis. So, you're looking at a 9-10 win team, and in my opinion, 9 wins doesn't cut it with this LSU fan base. You entered the season with more of a college football playoff or bust type thing. So
Yeah.
it's going to be underwhelming. There was tremendous hype. I think if you win 10 games, that is the biggest victory that you can look at, because that would be tremendous. This team's more than capable of hitting their stride. I truly believe that Jayden Daniels and his offense can put it together. It's how this defense responds after week 1. Wouldn't be surprised if they won 10 games. Wouldn't be surprised if they won 9 games. I think the world of Brian Kelly, and I think they can get it together, but you're going to have to shake back against Mississippi State. That's where you're going to see that response in a big way.
So what's your number? Give me a number here. How many wins?
I'm 9. I'm going to say 9-3. 9-3 regular season is what I'm staring in the face right now.
I think that's perfectly fair. Aaron Anderson didn't look explosive on kick returns. I disagree. I think he did. I just think his decisions were bad. What would you think about that? I think he shouldn't have ran the ones out that he did. I think he was just antsy to get some action.
Yeah, he was a stellar kick returner in high school, and I think he looked at himself, and I think he was looking at himself as that dude again, like he was in high school, where it was effortless for him. And when you're playing against the best of the best, especially a shining Florida State team, it's not going to be that way when you have cats flying down the field coming to get you. So there were times where he should have fair caught the ball, and he needs to learn to do that. And his decision making is what's going to need to improve. But from an explosive perspective, that's a quick, twitchy son of a gun. I mean, when he gets the ball, it's a scary sight. So he's going to hit his stride sooner rather than later. I'm not too worried about Aaron Anderson. It's his decision making that worries me, though.
Thank you, Cody, for the comment. Cousin Trey again. How long do you think it will take Harold Perkins to learn his new position? Is that the best position? He's a great player. If he isn't allowed to play great, will he be in the portal? A lot of questions there. I would say they need to change how they're playing him. I mean, I think he only blitzed the quarterback 6 times and dropped in zone coverage 24 times. That ain't going to cut it because he's such a talented pass rusher. But, I don't necessarily like the notion of just having him be exclusively a pass rusher. I think he's too talented of a player overall where he's doing that. I think the big thing was Florida State schemed around him. They really threw the ball away from him to the DBs. And why would you stop doing that when you were able to cook them for 350? Thoughts on that, Zach?
I think Harold Perkins is going to be just fine. I don't want to. I'd love to side with Brian Kelly on this because what he said has some juice to it. It's true. He's adjusting to a new position. Inside linebacker is a tough position to get, especially as a sophomore who didn't really play it last season. He was strictly a pass rush specialist, but you schemed him out of the game in week 1, and you cannot have that happen against some tough teams in SEC play. You're going to have a combination of him dropping back in coverage and of him rushing the passer, because what he did as a true freshman was phenomenal, and he's supposed to carry that success into year 2. You can't just sit here and worry about his long-term potential and player development when you have somebody who is seasoned as a pass rusher right now. You have to have a balance. And Brian Kelly talked today about reaching that happy medium. You have to do that starting this week against Grambling State. You have to have him hit his stride, get his confidence back, because dropping back 25 plus times and only rushing the passer 6-7 more times is unacceptable of a player of his talent. So this whole, leaving or anything like that, he'll be here for the long haul, but you have to play him to his strong suits and allow him to do what he does best. And that's, get in the backfield and disrupt the passer.
Look, Edward O says we're the bad guys. BR Media crowned the team before the season started and they took the bait. Worth noting, last year I took a lot of heat because I said the team was 8-4. And I said this is not going to be a special team, and they ended up being better than that. They were 9-3, not 8-4. And this year I say 11-1, and now I'm the bad guy again. It's just one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations, I suppose. Thoughts on that, Zach?
He's not wrong. I mean, there were times where us in the media were just kind of sitting back and saying like, look, like this team can reach the college football playoff. This team has all the tools, but looking at it, diving a little bit deeper, that secondary just isn't cut out to make that next step yet. Rome wasn't built in a day, and that's ultimately where I sit with this program. Brian Kelly is one hell of a coach. He's a CEO type figure. This team is going to be just fine. This program is going to be just fine. He's only been on campus for 18 months. So this 2024 class has a ton of secondary players. This program's gonna be fine, but yeah, if we're not looking at the bigger picture and we're keeping the heat on just this season alone, yeah, there were some people certainly throwing their fair share of praise at what this team could be in 2023.
Preston, great show as always. Thank you, Josh Forbes, and thank you for your continued support. Josh Forbes is predicting 7-5. I'm not there yet.
Not there yet either.
Jacoby Walton 8-4. Again, I'm not there yet. The fans seem to be a little more reactive than the media are. Maybe that could be our media egos not wanting to admit we were wrong. But I think that's a little too overreactive considering you just lost to who's going to be. I think Florida State's going to be a playoff team. I don't think they'd lose a game in the ACC, especially after seeing Clemson look awful. Duke might be the team to watch out for, man. Mike Elko, that guy, no joke what he's doing over there.
They brought back 19 starters too. That Duke team is not a joke. Like that Duke team is pretty talented.
Dane Bergeron says 8-4. Bo Swindle says 9-3, 8-4. The thing is that 8-4 would be a step backward. Do you think this team's really going to be? I thought that team was just very reminiscent of 2022, maybe a little bit worse on the defensive back end, but I don't see this team taking a step backward. Why didn't they play Hilton after the fourth race? I'm gonna be honest. I think Hilton should go in for Lacey because I think Lacey played a bad game that cost you. I mean, he had a bad third down drop. He had a lazy route on a 4th and goal situation. And these things, they're costing you games. I think that LSU should give Chris Hilton a chance. And we saw his dad. Did you see the tweet? Yeah, his dad tweeted out about getting him in the game. I definitely think so. I also think the other thing that's kind of inexcusable is not working in Aaron Anderson more. If you're going to do passes that are 8.1 yards per depth of target, why not put it in the hands of a dynamic playmaker who can make a guy miss?
Your most explosive receiver for the most part. But kind of sticking on this question, I loved everything that Chris Hilton brought to the table during fall camp. I mean, he was a star, and Jayden Daniels was hitting him on some deep he's a vertical threat. So if you want to see Jayden Daniels throw the damn ball down the field, you put in somebody like Chris Hilton who can, get 15, 20 yards down the field and let him do his thing. If you wanted to go short, you put Aaron Anderson in the slot and let him work from there. You have the weapons. You have the guys. I was very shocked.
Now, Lacey had a good fall camp. But admittedly, it's not like he doesn't have a history of drops. He does have a history. That was his big boogaboo a year ago, was catching the ball. I believe that having Jayden Daniels play the style of football he's playing, where he's not taking these shots downfield and not getting it to a dynamic playmaker underneath like Aaron Anderson, is malpractice. It's a match made in heavy. You got to get that rocking and rolling, but I understand he's also a young player and you're taking time to roll him in. So I think the receiving core needs to be shuffled up quite a bit. As a FSU fan, I say 9-3 is LSU's final record, perhaps 10-2. See, the FSU guys are right where I'm at. Like they saw a good football team. I think LSU fans are just more shooting ourselves in the foot than anything. All right, guys. Well, this was a fun show. I appreciate all of your compliments. Great show, guys, from Edward Bus, the Nuss Bus driver, Edward O. Nuss Bus driver. I appreciate all y'all supporting us on a Tuesday night outside of our regular scheduled time, yet y'all still show up in great numbers. I can't tell you how much y'all mean to me, and I appreciate all the support. If y'all enjoyed the video tonight, please drop us a like on the video. Please make sure to subscribe to our page. We are fastly growing into one of the largest LSU YouTube pages. So make sure to give our page a follow and hit that bell for when we go live so where you never miss it. That way, if I get another stomach virus, you will know exactly when to come because you'll get that live notification bell. So smash that like, subscribe, and I will see y'all Monday night. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Zack.
As always.